The whole thing. But really, nobody makes the case against lying Kamala Harris better than Kamala herself. Take a look.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
So think of that. So I heard that question when it was given, because I had to watch, because, you know, she doesn't do any interviews. She doesn't do any press conferences. She doesn't do them for one reason. She's not smart. She's not smart. Not smart. No, she doesn't do them. They're trying to shield. Last time they kept a man in the basement, and they had an excuse. They had a thing called COVID around. And we did great last year, I want to tell you. We did great in 2020. We did great in 2016. But we got millions more votes in 2020. Think about that one. So we have to make this too big to rig, right? Too big to rig. So Kamala just said that she can't think of one thing she'd do differently than crooked Joe Biden, right? So how about, I'll read off a little list to you. How about the following? She wouldn't do one thing. Remember that. What about the nation-wrecking border invasion, 21 million people? 21 million people plus came into our nation, and among them are murderers, drug dealers, people from mental institutions, human traffickers, mostly in women. How about that? She wouldn't do that differently? She went from the best border in the world to the worst border in the world. She went from, we had a border that was the best in U.S. history, and now we have the worst border anywhere in the world at any time. There's never been a border like this. What she's done and what he's done, what they have done to this country, the worst inflation in the history, costing a typical family almost $30,000. The inflation, she wouldn't do that over again either. Maybe the worst of all, and something that a lot of people don't hear about, because look at all the fake news. That's a lot of fake news. I think this is the worst of all in a sense, and you'd almost say, how could it be worse? She lost 325,000 migrant children. Their parents are looking for them. Think of you with their parents. Think of you with their parents. 325 due to incompetence, due to the fact that she had the worst border, due to the fact that she let our great people not run the border. She got rid of all the things that we were doing. We had the safest border. We went from the safest to the worst. Those children are now dead, in slavery, or just plain missing. Probably most of them will never be found again. Think of that. 325,000 because of their incompetence. They're missing. Probably many of them are dead. Number 4, migrant flights, flying illegal migrants into our cities. Remember when she said, no, we want to, about a month ago, she realized this was not playing well for her in the polls. So they came up with a phony little idea that they'll do something. The only thing they didn't do, though, they didn't stop the flights that were pouring in with thousands and thousands, and actually over the course of a couple of years, hundreds of thousands of people flying over our borders. They didn't stop that. So they came from places all over the world into your cities and small towns, changing them forever. And I have to say, ruining them, ruining your cities and towns, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, people from mental institutions and insane asylums, human traffickers and women. How about number 5, the Afghanistan catastrophe, the most embarrassing event in the history of our country? She wouldn't do that again. You have to understand. She said, no, I'd leave it the way it is. We're just going over just a small list. That was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Probably Putin went into Ukraine because of it. He looked and he saw the gross incompetence of this president that can't speak. The October 7th attack on Israel would never have happened, but she said that was fine, too, because she didn't want to change. She actually said she didn't want to change anything. She'd leave it the way it is. So I said, let's make a list of just some of the bad things. This is just a small list. October 7th, where you take a look at what happened. She doesn't want to change that. The slaughter of a lot of people. The Ukraine disaster, millions of dead people because of the weakness of this administration. Putin never would have gone into Ukraine if I were president. It would never, ever have happened. How about the natural gas export ban that is crushing Pennsylvania right now? Most of you don't even know about that. You know, you hear fracking and all, but